Well, as soon as the Pope dies, the Vatican, the Holy See, goes into a state of what's called a sede vacante, the empty chair. So essentially, there is no Pope at the moment. All Vatican offices, essentially, or most of them, end with the Pope's death, except for the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and the liturgy, but also this role you'll hear about, the Camerlengo. The Camerlengo is a senior cardinal who now acts as the temporary head of state between now and when the new Pope is elected in about 15 to 20 days. And it is the Camerlengo, who essentially is the Chamberlain of the Pope, who calls out the Pope's name 3 times. And there's no responses given. He can then formally declare the Pope is dead. The death certificate will be issued. At that point, the Pope's desk is locked and the doors to the papal apartments are sealed with a ribbon to signify that no business of the papacy can continue for this period. They won't be unveiled again until the new Pope comes to power. And it's at that point that the Camerlengo destroys the papal ring, the episcopal ring, or the fisherman's ring, piscatory ring, sorry, the fisherman's ring, goes back to St. Peter, because that's the symbol of the Pope's authority. From medieval times, Catholics would genuflect and kiss the ring. And of course, the ring was used to seal documents, importantly. So now we've got into we'll go into the funeral and then the 9 days of mourning. And it's at that point that you'll have the conclave gathering. Viewers may, of course, remember there was a film out recently called Conclave, which legitimately are not dealt with some of the politics that go on in the conclave. But essentially, there'll be a period for all of the cardinals of the church to come together. There are 120 who are allowed to vote. They must be under the age of 80, although there are actually 136 cardinals in total. And they will then have a series of ballots where they decide who the next pope should be. All of that is held in secret. In fact, the last pope said anyone who reveals what happens during the conclave will have immediate excommunication, so serious is this. At the end of every ballot, they look at the pieces of paper to see if they have a 2/3 majority. Has to be a 2/3 majority, a supermajority. If they don't reach that level, all the ballots are threaded with a needle and thread, and they are burned. And to the fire is added some black chemicals, and that causes the black smoke to rise up to say we don't have a pope. Now, this ballot carries on 2 ballots in the morning, 2 ballots in the afternoon, until finally they reach that 2/3 majority. And it's at that point that they are burnt again with white chemicals this time to create the white smoke. The bells of St. Peter ring out, and you then, of course, have the famous habeas papam, we have a pope, is declared. But until then, we're in a period of mourning. The Pope is currently in the state apartments for the members of the clergy to pay tribute. He'll then be transferred to St. Peter's Basilica for pilgrims and Catholics in general to pay their tribute.